Hello, YouTube. I have a interesting game for you today. This is a game I played, let's see, over 2 years ago. It was in June. It was on June 12th, 2022, for the Michigan Amateur. It was the fourth round. I was at board four. The section was the U2000. I was playing as the white pieces here for you today. And the thing that I wanted to show with this game is um, like some of the stress that can happen in a very long classical game. Um, I remember this one because it was I think maybe the first or no, it was one of the last games of the day. This was game 90 minutes plus 30 seconds. I believe this was, yeah, this was the last game of the day for it. I was very tired for this one. I was currently at the time rated about 1400, and my opponent was about 1856. Um, I was already having a really good tournament, and I've already like beat higher rated players. And later on during the same tournament, lost to a 1100 in the French defense as black. I pushed a little bit too hard and ended up losing, but that's not super important. Um, but anyways, we'll start this game, not continue because we haven't started it. The game opened up with the move pawn e4, and my opponent went with the Carol Khan. We'll turn off the computer to so that we don't have that annoying us. We do have a computer analysis of this game because it's a bit of an older one. Um, I went with C4, which is the accelerated Panov pet line of mine. The idea is not to play D4 to potentially have some shenanigans with the queen coming out along this diagonal. My opponent went with d5, the principal move. You capture, they'll recapture. I captured. They played a6, which is one of the, I think, lines that the masters play the most here. No, but it is a line. It's a line you really need to know as white. It's a kind of a sharp one. So this is preventing bishop to b5 check. Because if black doesn't play that and plays like knight c6, you can play this
Yeah,
check here, and it's a bit annoying because if they block, you could just
yeah,
trade here, and yeah, they could take with the queen, but then they kind of have some awkwardness with their position because essentially, I can kind of just trade all the pieces here. That's a bit of an issue if you want to win as black because you're the higher rated player. Um, so I get a really comfortable position where have an isolated pawn, but I'm definitely more developed than my opponent. I just get to enjoy a relatively solid position. It could develop like this. Game could continue. Oops, not like that. Just like this, and it should be pretty much a draw at this point. Um, it's not too complicated. I guess actually this move doesn't make sense because it drops a pawn, but you don't come here for good analysis. You come here for the fun analysis. Regardless, it's not what happened in the game. I just developed a piece, defended it. They attacked it. I defended it. They attacked my bishop, which was defending my pawn, so I have to move it out of the way. They currently could kick my knight away and win this pawn, but they decide to attack it with yet another piece. I decide to defend it because I'm going to try to be annoying as possible to my opponent, which is one of the main points of this whole opening if they allow you to keep this pawn, is to do it. They went with knight b d7. I went with knight g e2 because when they play here, which is a bit of a mistake from them, I can defend the pawn. The computer wanted them to play here, attacking the bishop, where I would then have to defend my bishop because I don't really want to lose it. They can take it. I take it. They take it. I play queen e3, attacking the knight. Knight e6. Don't really see that as a human move because it blocks in this pawn, but it makes a little bit more sense when you have the bishop wanting to come to the long diagonal, and the bishop can just come here. Trade happens, and I don't know. Apparently, the computer likes that. I think this is a much more human move. It just tries to win back the pawn. I went with knight f4, defending it. They could kick my knight, which is a move I did think and consider about, but I just figured I could just move it. Um, but instead, they had a different idea of kicking my knight, which I didn't really see, which was e5. This came as a bit of a shock to me. Because, like, wait, can I just take it? And the answer is no, because the pawn's pinned from the pensée. Because if I take here, they can just take my queen and I lose. So, again, I did what I would have done if it was g5 and just move my knight here. The idea is just to attack this piece twice. They took on d5. The computer thinks that they should trade here, defend their pawn, both sides castles, rook e1, a3, f5 from them, knight d7, then d3, c5, bishop c2, defending the pawn. And we are probably equal. I'm a little bit awkward in my position, but it should be fine. I don't think the game would have turned out that way if he went with that. I honestly believe if he played here after takes here, I think he would just take here. No, he can't because I have
Check.
take here with check. And then I win a piece unless he blocks with the pawn. So I guess, yeah, I could see that move, castle. But, oh, no, wait, that's right. Then he can't take the pawn because the queen's no longer attacking it. So I guess maybe this line does make a bit of sense. Maybe not f5 and a3, but yeah, that's not how it went. They decided to take right away. I castled, which was fine. They played queen d7. I played queen g3. Idea was I'm just attacking this piece, this pawn. Apparently the computer liked d4 more. Opening up the position, which makes a lot of sense. Knight takes here, attacking my queen, along with taking the piece. So the queen has to recapture. Queen g4, attacking the knight and threatening checkmate. But the knight can go back to g3 to defend both. Rook goes to c8, attacking my queen. I go to queen e1. I personally feel like I might have went with this move. Curious what the computer thinks of that move. I guess it drops a pawn. Yeah. Oh yeah. So okay. With it being a longer time to control, I think I could have found queen e1 versus this move because I could tell that the queen could take this pawn and then defend the knight. Here, I'm attacking this pawn. And yes, the queen can take here. But the problem is that then I get some development on the queen. And the queen now has to be tied to this knight to defend. So now I have an easy tactic of just taking this knight. They recapture, and I can take this
Check.
pawn in the center. If they block, I just hammer them on this file. And Whether or not it's winning or not isn't a huge question. Like black might be able to defend this, but this is very uncomfortable. Like this move, maybe they get some counterattacking this there, but I stopped them from castling easily, so should be fine. From here, they played f6, which is considered a blunder because with g3, I don't know why f6 is a blunder. Uh, the best move was just castles apparently, because this isn't really an issue. Because if you do take here, this is a pin, which is something I did not see during the game, but I probably would have not fallen for it. But my opponent didn't really see that either, so they played this move. I did continue with the best move, which was d4, which was one of my ideas that I was going for. It's like I just didn't want my queen being seen by the bishop indirectly here. So I knew I wanted to break open the center because his king's weak, and maybe there's some sacrifices here. I was also seeing some crazy tactics that happen later. Knight takes, bishop, not bishop, pawn takes, e4. Didn't really like that move. The computer doesn't either. It allows me to play this really cool and funny move, which I did see in the game. This. So if you take, there's knight takes here with check and win the queen. And if they play the best move, which is what they did, long castle, you just take. They recapture. Computer likes taking with the knight. I took with the queen because I figured I trade queens. I am up a pawn in this position. His king is weaker, and I should be better here. At the very least, I can draw this position. They played knight, or not, bishop d5. I went knight f5, just potentially trying to get to this square to check them to win that piece. What's the idea? They went king d7. I went back to attack this piece. They, I thought I did. Did I not? No, that's right. I went with rook here first. Then the rook went over. This rook went over. Then I went knight e7. They played bishop b7. Bit of a slow move. I think they wanted to defend here and then check here. But at this point, I was like, okay, I don't like this backwards pawn. I'm going to push it while I can. It kind of opens positions a little bit. The computer doesn't like it, but it's still fine. The computer wants a4, which wasn't really on my radar, especially this line. Like, it's kind of a ridiculous line.
Check.
Where I don't fully get it. So, with first off, a4 doesn't make too much sense. Because my whole idea would be like, oh, I take here and then maybe trade a pair of rooks off, which is kind of fine. Maybe h4 I always saw, maybe I played h3. I could have even moved to like a rook somewhere too. Position's just like up a pawn at this point. It's kind of hard not to have it, but the point of this move being rook b1 makes no sense because like computer can you just drop in the pawn here, and then the fact that you actually can take this because if this takes, then you have rook takes here isn't something that I would really go for because I would have not seen the pawn a4 move, let alone the rook b1 move because the computer is ridiculous. But anyways, c4, it's fine move. Attacks the center, trades off my weakest pawn. I thought They took, I took with the knight. They take here, I take here. Trading the knights off. How could I be any worse? They went with rook c8 attacking my bishop. I went with bishop b3 just because it seemed fine. Kapir wants to keep the pressure going, be accurate here, because if I'm not accurate, I could be worse at some point or lose some of my edge, which I did. I just moved my bishop back, just defending it. And luckily for me, my opponent kind of also played a kind of a weak move. Their move is like they need to activate their king. They need to push their pawns. Eventually defend this guy, and then my whole goal is to eventually win it. It's not like that with this. I try to slowly convert, but um, like I feel like their move makes more sense. I went here trying to trade rooks. Again, kind of gives away the advantage. They moved up. I went king f1 just because I wanted my king closer in the end game because it's getting closer to that. They went with f5. I went with g3. They went with f4, which I thought was really interesting idea because then they once I take, they trade and they play rook here to win back the pawn. I went with rook c3, which is a blunder and lost my advantage at this point. The idea was I could re-maneuver my rook here or maybe here to attack some of the weak points here. I guess I could have done this way where I'm also guarding the square because here, like, the bishop trade is not particularly good because now it's a draw
check,
because like he can't make any good progress.
check,
And at this point, even though I'm up a pawn, it's a rook endgame, and this is drawn because this pawn should promote. Like eventually, these pawns have to trade. Is essentially the whole point. And then this pawn is a little bit. It's not good enough to win because they can just attack it with two pieces or set up a position where it's stalemate. I still would push for this. I could still win, but isn't for me. But I went here, and luckily my opponent obliged by also blundering, allowing me the idea of my move, which was rook here. They went with e3, trying to go after this. I just took it because I was like, how is that bad? Well, apparently the computer
check,
likes this because I actually have the king completely blocked off, so the king has to move back, and then there's take this
check,
pawn with check. Then, apparently you push the pawn, which I don't really
check,
get because then why not that? Oh, because I
check,
just win
check,
this pawn, and then it's pretty easy from here. This should be winning because we still have the bishops. The bishops actually make it easier to win, and I'm up 2 pawns. Um, but yeah, I took this one, and then I've said, well, I'm up a pawn. The worst case, I have a draw here. They took. I went with rook back to h3 because, well, I want to attack and win that pawn. They went bishop e4, defending that.
check,
I went with rook h6 because the other idea I had of this move was that I'm also attacking this pawn with a skewer tactic here. And this is where an unfortunate blunder you might see here shown in red. My opponent went with here. So in this position, being exhausted, tired from the whole day, I'm looking at this position and I'm double checking because I was really good about double checking this tournament. I had like about 18 minutes on the clock after a 90-minute game, so we've already been playing for almost 2 hours at this point. Both of us were both around 20 minutes. Um, and I'm looking at this position, I'm calculating, and I'm going like here. I'm like, okay, why did they let me win this pawn? Like, seriously, they're just letting me win this pawn because my king's on e1. Like, there's not even a skewer or anything like this. I'm just looking at this position. It's like, this is, I just take this pawn, right? What's the issue? I look at this position like for over 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, and for whatever reason, I kept seeing my king on e1. So I was like, yeah, I see no issue. I think I might be even able to win this. Because I was thinking maybe their idea was like, I don't know, my king's here. Maybe their idea is here. And then like, how do I maybe like there's some sort of checkmate idea here, or like I don't know, like maybe they can win this pawn at some point. So I took it. And then all of a sudden, my king was on f1. And I was so mad. I almost resigned before the move was even played by black. And then they played it.
Check.
And I played on because I was like, I don't know, maybe there's some sort of weird draw stalemate idea. And I continued to play. Honestly, like, there's not too much to analyze with the rest of this. I think
Check.
I came up with some interesting resources, but my opponent
Check.
converted this game beautifully, where
Check.
there really wasn't any hope whatsoever. And after king h3, I resigned before my opponent made another move because I'm like, there's no way I can stalemate myself. Um, so one of the crazy ideas I had was, if this pawn was over on this side, or maybe if this was a dark square bishops, like I could go in this corner and then have my bishop defend me here. So um, let's actually do like I think there's a board editor here. There it is. So I am gonna swap these bishops like this, and then go to the analysis board so we can actually look at this. This is more less losing, but in this case there's a check. I will go here, they'll move their pawn here, I'll go here. They can move their pawn, but my idea was like, maybe I can like do something like
Check.
this, and there's might be some sort of
Check.
stalemate idea, because right here I can't move, but like I can. So the other idea would have been like maybe they move their king, make a mistake like that. Um, here's the other idea is it's like the king gets here, and I can go here, and then it's hopeless, but
Check.
there's like a stalemate idea here. So one of the more interesting ideas here is to just show is a bad move here is
Check.
this. This is now a draw because
Check.
they have the wrong color bishop. I don't even have to take this pawn. I could just refuse to take this pawn and it's still a draw because there is no way to kick my king away from this corner. So that was another thing I was kind of hoping that could have happened in this game, but um, it was a very fun game. And one of the things, one of the bigger things I learned from this game and future chess tournaments, which I've come across again, if I can find that, I recently had another game where I made a similar mistake to this, where I'd plenty of time by simply didn't properly calculate or anything like this. What I should have done here, because I had 18 minutes, and with the amount of pressure I was feeling right then and there, I should have just gone up and step away from the board for a second. Let my eyes readjust, come back to the board, look at the board again, and realize, oh, they have this fork. So I'm not winning a piece here. In that case, then I probably would have played king here. And the game would have continued. I think I would have gotten my rook out of that corner area. Probably
Check.
throw in this check. Offer. Whoops. I would offer a rook trade if the bishop wasn't attacking it. They attack here, I'll just move it. And the game continues. I'm still up a pawn, so I'm still the one pressing. Black's the one who has to defend the position. I think 1800 could defend this position against me. I don't think I would find a
Check.
super difficult lines of attack to pressure them. This is a really good setup, just like this. Put the pawn here, have this here. The rook cuts my king off. I don't really have a good way of trading.
Check.
This check doesn't really, doesn't do much. Um,
Check.
some
Check.
like funny things I can do
Check.
here. I think at this point, if I had
Check.
this, I would have gone
Check.
for like a draw. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this little look into this game. It was a loss, but was a really good game. I was better for most of it, and the big takeaway really was like when you're seeing shadows or like the board doesn't look clear or you're feeling stressed, take a break. It's great to do, and we have 18 minutes on the clock. You can afford to just not look at the chessboard for like 3 minutes or even 5 minutes, and you're perfectly fine. Definitely a better use of my time than blundering in one move. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna bid you the bye byes.